Hey, you, welcome back to the channel, and I hope you all are having a great day. So, want to talk about some latest news with Andrew Yang. We now know that the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, has began donating to the Andrew Yang campaign. Now, of course, that's good. We want to see a lot of these people, especially a lot of these tech giants, really get behind Andrew Yang because there the a lot of people who are in tech and AI recognize the problem of their inventions and what it's going to mean to society. So many of them are trying to work toward a solution as well, which I think is a quite the responsible thing to do. And so it's good that Jack Dorsey's now recognizing the Andrew Yang campaign. Now, the only problem I have with it is that he only donated $1,000 so far. I also believe Nicolas Cage donated $1,000 to the Andrew Yang campaign. Um, he can max out at $5,000 because of the campaign rules. So he hasn't done that yet. Maybe he will. I do know that he donated $5,000 to the Tulsi Gabbard campaign. So he maxed out on Tulsi, so he likes Tulsi. Kind of weird that he hasn't donated as much to the Andrew Yang campaign, saying that he's in tech as well, and that he should be more concerned about what technology and AI is going to do to jobs in the future. But the fact he is donating to the Andrew Yang campaign does show he is concerned about it, and he does recognize the Andrew Yang campaign as a good campaign. So those things are great. Um, Interesting enough, what's been going on, probably many of you all have heard about it, and that is Bernie Sanders had quite a bit of complaints come out of his camp, saying figures were coming across like he was only paying $11 to $13 on average per hour for people on the campaign trail. And what I want to say about that in relation to Andrew Yang, because, of course, Andrew Yang was against the minimum wage from the beginning. He thought it was a better way to go about it. And we've done videos in the past that discuss some of the issues with minimum wage. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today, but to also say that, Bernie Sanders has come out and wanted to try to correct the problems and issues with his with the people from his camp to try to get that resolved. And again, I think Bernie Sanders is a good person, I by no means would want to attack Bernie in any way, but the thing is, it's going to come a point in time in this election process that we do have to distinguish amongst our candidates, right? We have to, and there's a proper way to do that. And what happens in these elections is sometimes candidates don't do that properly, and we get a lot of things happening out in bad form. But we do have to distinguish our candidates because the American people deserve the best candidate at the right time. And some of us feel Bernie Sanders' time was in 2016, and he's slipping greatly in the polls. And a lot of people believe his time may have passed. But anyway, let's talk about that a little bit and contrast that to the Andrew Yang's freedom dividend. Why minimum wage maybe wasn't such a good idea, maybe isn't quite the best idea, and if it isn't minimum wage, then what else would be the solution to that? So in this article done by Vox, and there are several articles about this, and we all pretty much know the story about Sanders championing the minimum wage. But let's read a little bit from the article. Senator Bernie Sanders responded to a Thursday Washington Post report that indicated field organizers within his campaign were unhappy with their compensation and demanding the equivalent of the $15 an hour pay that Sanders has touted throughout his presidential campaign. I'm very proud to be the first presidential candidate to recognize a union and negotiate a union contract, Sanders told the Des Moines Register on Friday. And that contract was ratified by the employees of the campaign. And it not only provides pay of at least $15 an hour, it also provides, I think, the best health care benefits that an employer can provide for our field organizers. He added, it does bother me that people are going outside of the process and going to the media. That is really not acceptable. It really is not what labor negotiations are about, and it is improper. Okay, I think Bernie had to come in and do some damage control on that, and that's understandable. And I'm glad that they got that resolved. But there is a more broader issue. Why couldn't this have been resolved in the first place? Why would it have to get to the negotiation on the table part? When many stores was coming out, these people could barely live, they could barely eat, they didn't have any health care benefits. And, it's very negative on the Bernie Sanders campaign. Again, I'm glad he fixed it. And I don't know all the details of what happened there, only that these people felt it was necessary to go to the media. They felt they couldn't speak within the Bernie Sanders camp to get that resolved. So the image of that doesn't look good. It definitely doesn't, help the Bernie Sanders campaign. He did fix it, but it seems like, he was a little bit late to the party with that. I think it begs a much bigger question, though, too. And that is, why was this such a complicated process to begin with? And I think it probably goes back to, or many of us believe that it might go back to some of the fundamental issues that occur within the minimum wage structure. Now, some would assume that by implementing a minimum wage, it's going to make everything right. Everybody shows up to work, they get the $15+ an hour, and everything is great. But some also believe that this could actually, as Andrew Yang has proposed, expedite the automation process, meaning, and that makes a lot of sense if we were to compare, if you look at something like a McDonald's worker, right? You're going to be paying these people, say, about 30 grand a year, and you can probably purchase a kiosk for the same thing, an order taking kiosk that they now have at McDonald's that is more efficient than an employer or an employee rather. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't complain. It doesn't call in sick or anything like that. As far as, the way that McDonald's is set up, as far as even food prep, there's no reason why a machine couldn't handle all of the food prep for the most part. There are some great technology out there. And I should actually posted a video I have done in the past that shows these very advanced robots that could prepare meals, even gourmet meals. Meals a great deal more complicated than a McDonald's meal. So, this is something greatly to think about, that this could actually cause the loss of many jobs. And many of us who have been at entry-level work before, the only people I think that don't understand the concept of minimum wage are people who've never had an entry-level job. They must have all started at professional level, because many of us who've held entry-level jobs pretty much understand and know that a lot of times what happens on the job is when there's a raise, they don't hire more people. They put the grunt of the work on you. So now you're doing twice as much work. So you're earning every dime that your raise was, because now they got you doing 3 or 4 more extra jobs, right? They're not hiring any more people. They're trying to find a way to cut corners. They're definitely not going to be paying everybody a $15 minimum wage. And, and in some cases, it could very well be that not every job deserves $15 an hour, right? Many of us do feel it's fair and appropriate that if you work 40 hours a week, you should be able to have a living wage. And I agree with that as well. But then there are some jobs, and many of us know the jobs I'm speaking of now, where people just kind of show up for work, and you're going to have to pay those people $15 an hour no matter what the job is. And that's going to be part of the problem, because that's what's going to cause a lot of people to become unemployed, and the people who are in the job capacity to have to struggle to now carry on the extra load, and do more work than they had to do prior. So that also could happen like that. Not to mention a lot of younger people who depended on part-time work and a variety of things like that, trying to get in on their first job, trying to learn, trying to go to school. Many of them probably won't have that opportunity. That is also a possibility. So the freedom dividend under Andrew Yang addresses all those issues. It doesn't discourage employers or hurt them in any way to that effect. And I think there's a much broader problem with this election process and with the candidates, and that is all of them have a very myopic going forward idea of increasing minimum wage and that solved the job problem. That does not just solve the job problem. It does not create more jobs. It does not stimulate the economy. What does that is something like the freedom dividend that gives buying power to Americans who are going to go out, spend this money into local businesses. That in turn is going to create more new jobs, right? So you're solving all these problems in one stroke. It's going to give safety net to people who have jobs and who don't have jobs to go out and get jobs, right? And so it's going to do a lot of things in that area that's going to work, my belief, better than what the other candidates are proposing. But again, it goes back, the problem is the other candidates aren't proposing a solution to any of this. They're all going forward with the same ideas. So that's why it's very difficult for me to support people other than Andrew Yang, because from what I can see, they do not have a different approach to the problem or the process. They just simply have the same ideas. They're not fresh new ideas. They're saying the same exact things, and they're not solving new problems that are on the horizon, or even effectively and efficiently dealing with the ones that are here. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about it. Do you think Bernie Sanders could have handled the situation better with the minimum wage? Or is it a situation where the minimum wage idea, it just proved how inefficient it can be, that the Bernie Sanders camp couldn't handle it properly, in a way that where they were doing right by their workers. Because I'm sure these people work very hard, and if they were been on the campaign trail, they really did support Bernie, but somehow they felt rubbed the wrong way, and didn't seem like they could get answers any other way. But we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions. Don't forget about our project, BitcoinMYK.com, our own universal basic income program. Use the most advanced technology in the world to distribute value globally to us. We control our own value, our own money, tradable in your local currencies. If you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and until next time, take care.